Thank you, Dobar dan. 2023 is coming to an end. I think it was an exceptional year for Bosnia and Herzegovina. I make, first of all, thank all those who have worked to make the European future for us all in BIH coming closer. I think especially the government. They have increased the speed of legislation. If I'm right, the last government in some time had a percentage of what? 2 laws per half year or what? We have now in the last year have heard, as if I'm counting right, 10 legislative acts. Compliments. We all know that this is not yet sufficient. We have to speed up. But first of all, I have to say this government is an acting government dealing in favor of European integration. And me having been with a lot of my contacts in Brussels and in the capitals talking about this, this is an achievement and this is very respected. I thank as well the European Commission for doing such a lot. Maybe we should a little bit more bring to knowledge that this is not Europe just coming and offering things. This is a request for cooperation, and a lot of the coming weeks and months and after this will ask a lot for a lot of work done here and not in Brussels. So I would say it remains a lot to be done. And I would just say that this is a little bit to Jean Monnet. Jean Monnet, who has been the first citizen of honor of Europe, and together with Konrad Adenauer, Alcide de Gasperi, and Robert Schuman, one of the founding fathers of the United Europe, one of the founding fathers of the United Europe. He said, "We do not work to form a coalition between governments, but we want to bring people together." I think this is exactly the addressee what I want to say today. Here I am not on behalf of governments. Here I see myself as this one who takes care of the interests of the people, the real sovereign in Bosnia and Herzegovina. All those who have been elected or appointed, they do service on behalf of the people and not in their own interest. So I think we have to make clear that there are 2 key interests and 2 key necessities. The first is the sovereign has to be respected. And the second is this needs the electoral law has to be precise, correct, and transparent. Unfortunately, Bosnia and Herzegovina's official people could not come together to adopt measures to improve election integrity. A better legal framework for elections is required, as the authorities have consistently been reminded, and reminded is a polite sentence on this, by the OHR, but especially OSCE, ODIHR, the Central Election Commission, by the Venice Commission, and some other organizations. So I think we have to expect that the political class answers to these wishes, which are somehow expressing the wish of the people. And it's not a complicated legislation. It's just a simple one. The votes of people have to be counted as they are intended and not as some others would like to see it. This clear message, which I know is shared by a lot of people and a lot of politically responsible people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, is something which is indispensable if for a country planning to enter European integration. So I think this is as well as essential that free and fair elections are the foundation of democracy. BRH citizens must be granted the fairness of democratic voting. So, and I wish to say every vote must count in the 2024 local elections. The introduction of more solid measures against electoral fraud is in this context urgent. And we are losing if we are not acting, we are losing the confidence of voters in the elections. This is the worst what can happen in a democracy. So I call on everybody to take this very serious. I think there is I will work on this and you will hear this, what has to be done. I have respect for parliamentary decisions. Since 15 years, 2008, the first report of ODIHR after the elections in this year showed that there has to be a change. Unfortunately, except some parts of these recommendations we got over the years, nothing has been implemented. And those who have been implemented by my decision last year. So I have respect to Parliament, and this is why I today say, this is my last and final call to parliamentary structures to go and decide. If not, and we'll come to the time frame, this I would see is a disregard to the voters. The voters have the right, and this is not given by anybody, this is their initial right. So I have appealed to all everybody in the political parties to strengthening election integrity. I would find it better if domestic actors find a solution. But if this is not the case, and this has to be the case either now, hic rotos, hic salta, not in the next month, year, or ever, I would think, let me say the next 3 or 4 weeks, we all would like to see results. If not, we cannot depend on some promises, let's wait and see in the next week, next week, next week, next week, next week. No, this week it has to be done. And this means if this is not done, everybody knows there's one person in town who has the competence and the powers to go for decision. This is in this case not interfering in any parliamentary political decision. This is strengthening democracy and strengthening the approach to European integration. Or could you argue that it is better that you accept electoral fraud to get a better future? No, it is not. Nobody can convince me in another way and convince us. So Let us go and show what is necessary. Any legislation, be it from Parliament or this what then would come on my table, has to include the key findings of OSCE, ODIHR, Greco, and Venice Commission. And let me say, now we are talking about integrity. I know very well that there are a lot of other issues. Just referring to presidency election. Just yesterday in this room has been Jakob Finzi, and he remembered us that on Friday this week, 22nd of December, it is 14 years that the European Court of Human Rights has decided in the Sejdic-Finzi case. Up to now, we haven't seen any implementation of this, and this is as well not a preparation for access to European integration. But I do not talk today about this because I do not want to link everything to everything. Now it's about integrity. First, the legal basis for technologies has to be found. You know that Central Election Commission and the OSCE and others and my office, we worked of having electronic counting of ballots and identification of voters with the fingerprinting or other means. This needs technical investment. This needs a legal basis for this technical investment. So I expect, or I will do, the legal basis for these technical facilities needed for having a better check that everything is correct done. The second is that we have to restructure the oversight chain over the voting process. The process has to be supervised before, during, and after the election day. It does not start with the opening of the polling station and the closure, but in between and more. This includes that we have polling station committees which are professionalized. The polling station committee chairman has to be a neutral president or chairman and vice chairman at least. This means that we will switch the mechanism of selecting those. This is no longer a job and reserved to political parties. This includes as well that the fake lists, which sometimes one has the impression, as I have read and heard from several observers, that some lists only are being built to be part of the lottery of distribution of getting member in the polling station committee, that we will not allow in future that such a thing happens, that you get on Sunday is election day, on Saturday afternoon, this virus in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which you could call the polling station disease, why some people just on the spot who have been nominated as being member of the polling station committee get sick. I wish all of them good health. But if they're behind is a strategy or tactics just to sell the place, this will and has to be over. And we have as well, with electronic issues, thinking about more clearness and transparency of the counting process. I thank this lot, and if I'm talking about polling station committees, there are a lot of people in who do their job very well, including people from parties. You cannot say everybody does wrong. No, not at all. But we have to safeguard them by more transparency, and so to have to de-link the political parties from this job they have to deliver, those in the polling station committees. So we would see, and I would ask if there's any legislation that there has to be additionally as well a video surveillance and control for those counting and for those being present. Not in any way there could be any video surveillance for the voting. This is very clear, because we have to respect the integrity and the secrecy of the voting, not at all. But the time around. We have to think about other measures in making sure that the ballots are the right ones and that no other ballots are added. So, but this is very technical, and this is why we are talking now with the institutions, means Central Election Commission, the institution responsible for the electoral voters register. You know that it's surprisingly in this country that we have probably more voters than people living in the country. And I have heard not good jokes. I would not repeat these jokes, but maybe a lot of you know the jokes them well. So let us go for a very serious registration, and this needs an improved cooperation between EID, those who are responsible for ID cards, and the Central Election Commission. I think these are the key parts of the future draft of a legislation. It has to include protection of the secrecy of the voting, protection of the correct handling of the vote itself. This means having the ballot in a place and registered that any fraud is not possible or more is not easy to be made. And then we have, with respect to those being responsible in the polling stations, giving them the opportunity to go and be nominated there, not only as responsible or as members of a party, but as citizens. This needs preparation, training, fair selection, and public call, so this needs time. Venice Commission asked us to have 1 year in ahead changes. Maybe you remember this was one of the issues where I said better we do things we have not to directly link to the elections, do it after the elections. So now we have in October this year, next year, sorry, but in the coming year, we have the municipal elections. My intention was to do it already in October this year, to have this 1 year. I think we can respect this as well. This is in concert with European Union, European Commission, where we are working very closely together with the SBA, the members there, and with the institutions. I think we can act into. But this needs that we go ahead now. Those thinking it would be sufficient to do it in May or June, they are wrong. We have to do it now because we need a time frame before to install, to organize, and to adjust. We will not have the opportunity to have 100% of the nearly 6,000 polling stations this year already with electronic machinery. If we would have, let me say, 1 out of 10, this is a good pilot project for the general elections 2 years later, because you need all this machinery. So this probably around this, if this is a little bit less, this is not the problem. We have to see whether it checks. I do not want to see a mock-up. I want to see the tested in real election day and situation. So we will contact all the commissions, OSCE, and those who are responsible for looking on this. I think we will get a lot of support. I'm thankful that the NGOs are very supportive to this. We had at our peak some 3 weeks ago invited opposition and government representatives reporting to this. We have talked as well with the Commission, with the working group of the acting government coalition, how far they are. They unfortunately could not already say that they have finished their job. If they are doing this the next days and weeks, I'm happy with it. But let us repeat, and let me repeat, we have to see and we have to check that the standards of OSCE and ODIHR are respected and integrated. Not a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. No, it has to be done now. I depend and rely on the joint political will. This brings Europe closer to European integration, and this brings the voters as sovereign closer to their possibility that they really have a good selection and decision, and their decision is counted on. I know this is something to work over the New Year's Eve, but sometimes maybe in the next hours and days, there's time to reflect and to contemplate, and this would be as well a good time for action. I'm looking forward. Be sure that end of this process, we will have a better integrity law for elections, and this will be sustainable. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good time today and in the next weeks.